It's a new Sprint Ride Option podcast. It's another Victory Monday down in the Bayou. New Sprint Ride Option podcast starts now. Jason Aponte, hit my music.
Burp. 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 Burp.
I should say hit our music, not my music. I don't know why I said my music.
It is your music.
It's our music. We're a tag team, Jason. World's cutest tag team, dare I say. It is a new episode of the Sprint Ride Option podcast. Jason Aponte, as always. How is your Monday? Like late afternoon for you. It's noon o'clock here on the West Coast. How's your late afternoon going on your Monday, Jason Aponte?
Really good. It's so much easier when the 49ers win, but there's so much to digest, right? Like the instant reaction is so good because you have these raw feelings, but
Yeah.
after watching it over again and then looking over the data and looking over the film, like there's so much more to digest right now. And shout out to Jesse. Jesse, can we get an updated counter on the 49ers record in games in which they outscore their opponent?
Need the early update on that. 2 games for the season. I forgot what the numbers are. And yeah, man, I like the day after because it's I guess, for example, the best case scenario we could use this for is Connor Colby, right? Like he's a big name. I've seen him a lot yesterday, obviously, but we don't have the information available to just how good of a game he had when we're going live, 5 minutes after the game ends. But then you get back to the day after, and here we are. And he enters the game for Ben Barch. He has 35 snaps, I believe the number was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was perfect. He was perfect as a pass blocker. He was very good as a run blocker, and things like that. We get it in the hindsight of the next day that we know with our eyeballs we can see that Connor Colby had a solid game at left guard, but then you get the numbers to back it up, and that's one of the many examples of what Jason's talking about here is we get the 24-hour hindsight of exactly what happened in the Niners win yesterday.
And we also get to yell at PFF for their grades because things don't actually fit my narrative. And if you want, this is the quickest one and the first one because there's a bunch of them that we should get into. Diamador Lenore, 45.7 grade.
What?
The young man's name was not called because they didn't throw the football at him. He allowed 16 yards in coverage. So we got a lot to talk about. The funniest part, highest graded secondary member, 7 snaps only, Ji'Ayir Brown, 93.5. If you're looking for full-time grade of a player who played a bunch of snaps, 67.7 for Upton Stout. So do with that information what you will. But after watching the film, I do have some thoughts about the Ji'Ayir Brown usage because I was really intrigued to see him on the field early in the game. Really didn't understand what was going on at first. Was somebody injured? Was somebody not? I completely get it now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Thank you, Jesse. Update the Niners are 2-0 this season when they score more points than their opponents. We really like that.
By the way, Andrew Pasquini. Andrew Pasquini, Jalen Hurts, stop stealing our bit. Did you hear him in the press conference? When you score more points, you win games. Bullshit. Bullshit. When I say it, it's a joke. But when you say it as some inspirational quote, get out of here, man. Stop stealing my bit, man. Get off my body.
Well, I think it was a big day for that quote because what was Mike McDaniel's quote after the game? You can only win games you win, not the ones you lose, or whatever he said after the game.
He's fired.
They're just he is a. That's it. Do you want to hear an exact reaction from Dolphin fan Albert? I messaged him and I said, "Hey, you want to come over on Thursday, watch the Dolphins-Bills game? It's better than watching it alone." And he said, "Or I could watch paint dry while hammering nails into my hand. Probably would be less boring and painful than watching the Bills destroy the Dolphins again." So there, in case you're wondering where Dolphins fans are right now mentally, there you go. But yeah, no, I don't like people stealing our bitch, Jason. I want to go back to Diamador Lenore. I want to know how you get a 44.4 coverage grade when 3 for 5, 16 yards. The longest was 7 yards. I don't know how that's a failing grade, in my opinion. I guess PFF has a different standard than us. But also, I had a question, Jason. I don't know if you went play by play. I noticed Rich Madrid yesterday. This is another PFF conversation point. Rich Madrid yesterday posted about how they gave McKivitz
Yep.
He gave McKivitz a sack and
The
a
sack
pressure.
and yeah, the pressure and the sack. That was
On
clearly
the
on
one
Mac
where Mac
Jones.
Jones just stood there and accepted that he was getting sacked.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
This show is about to be about watch the games.
Yeah.
Watch the games. Don't just trust the grades, or don't just watch the games. The same thing that we were talking about with Michael Williams last week about the double teams. Watch the games.
Mm-hmm.
The stats should line up with what you're watching. The stats shouldn't tell you something that you didn't see.
Yeah.
Watch the games.
Watch the games. I don't know how you can give Colton McKivitz a pressure on that. I mean, especially when Mac Jones said himself that, hey, that was my fault. So
wait a minute. The funniest thing is, Cole McKivitz drives the edge rusher into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the end of the rep, not the edge rusher being able to get up and jump around and touch the ball. What did you want McKivitz to do? But you know what? Fine. I just want to make sure that we watch the games. And before we start, McKivitz allowed the only sack. No, he didn't. Mac Jones did. And we have to remember, quarterback play, O-line play, wide receiver play, all connected when it comes to pass protection.
I mean, especially when he does it, he just didn't move. He just did not move his feet whatsoever. But that's okay. Neither here nor there. Hey, we're here to talk about the 49ers 26-21 win over the New Orleans Saints in the Bayou down at the Superdome. We kind of touched on it yesterday, Jason. It was a game that it felt like there's a few moments where the Niners had a chance to really pull away. They couldn't quite pull away for mistakes. Something I do want to point out, and I had it in front of me. It looks like I lost it. The Niners had 2 one-possession wins last season. I think they had 8 one-possession games last year. They went 2-6. The Niners are 2-0 in one-possession games this season. So that's a good start. And I understand people say, they're talking about, oh, well, you got to look better against the Saints. The Saints aren't good. I even said it at my halftime. The Saints aren't good. But at the end of the day, the Niners scored more points than the New Orleans Saints, and that's what we should be taking away. This is a team that's 2-0 that is going into a game against the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday against a very beatable Arizona Cardinals. I don't know. Did you catch the end of that Cardinals-Panthers game yesterday, Jason?
I sure did.
We were done work early. The Cardinals
so hard to lose that game.
Every which way to lose that game. And they could not lose it. They unfortunately win. So 1-1 Cardinals the 2-0 Cardinals against the 2-0 Niners on Sunday. But we're here talking about the Saints. I know the quality of opponent wasn't the highest, but Jason, I think the big thing we should be taking away is the Niners are 2-0 at this point.
And they won games that they lost last year. I mean, they already have as many one possession games wins that they did through 8 last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we kind of talked about it in the instant reaction, and we're like, oh, well, this is, maybe an example of them being bad, playing down to a bad team. I think, again, you underestimated the Saints the entire week, and this was something I continued to warn about. Still pick the 49ers, still believe that they were going to win the game. But right now, the styles make fights argument is what we should be focusing in on, right? And I still believe the 49ers have not played their best football. I think their best football is ahead of them. I think that they're going to get reinforcements. And I think they're doing things already this season that they did not do last year, which was either close it out on offense or close it out on defense. They had 2 closers this week. That's the difference between last year's team and this year's team. Oh, and by the way, Robert Saleh's really good.
Yeah, and the thing is too, is you mentioned the defense closing games, and I could see people being upset about, hey, you shouldn't even be in a situation where the opposing team has a chance to take the lead on the final drive. But it's not like the Niners defense is bending, and then the clock runs out on the offense. The defense is making plays to put these games away. I mean, back-to-back weeks with a strip sack to win the game. I mentioned yesterday how I went back and watched the game a little bit. But I go back, that Fred Warner pass breakup is huge on Juwan Johnson at the on the 3rd and 1 right before the final play of the game, because they flip the field on that play if he makes that completion. But Warner's there to make the play. It sets up the strip sack, and I've watched that. I've watched that Bryce Huff sack about 5 or 6 times since. I don't think you could get a better jump off of a snap than Bryce Huff did. And that was an insane jump, and it's back-to-back weeks with a strip sack. And I'm sure we'll talk about it here at depth here in a minute. But let's kind of go through each positions kind of as we do, Jason. Let's start with the quarterback position. Mac Jones, the backup quarterback, 26 for 39, 279, 3 touchdowns. He got sacked 3 times. In my opinion, all 3 was his fault. PFF disagrees, Jason Aponte. But overall, a solid game for Mac Jones. And the thing I mean, there's a lot of games as Niner fans that we could talk about backups have played. This has got to be one of the best of them. I know Nick Mullins had a 400-yard game one time against Seattle. That was in a loss. But if we had to power rank the backup quarterbacks that the Niners have had the past few years, I think this performance alone puts Mac Jones at 1. I don't know what that means because I don't want to talk about backup quarterbacks too often on this podcast, Jason. Sounds like we're going to have another week to talk about him with maybe Brock Purdy not playing on Sunday.
Well, the league is talking about backup quarterbacks. We got J.J. McCarthy out 2 to 4 weeks. Joe Burrow's out 3 months. Justin Fields in concussion protocol. Jaden Daniels is out. Marcus Mariota. The entire league is talking about backup quarterbacks right now.
And you got to feel good about where the Niners are with Mac Jones. So what was your thoughts, Jason? I know you watched a little more of the game this morning. What are your thoughts on Mac Jones' performance yesterday?
Completely expected. I mean, this offense was tailored to him. He was a glove in hand fit, which is why there was all those rumors about Mac Jones being here. I don't think that anybody ever thought that he was going to be overwhelmed in the moment, especially given the glove in hand fit of his skill set and this offense, right? I was impressed. Obviously no interceptions, but that's exactly what you expected Mac Jones to do. Now, what we will have a conversation about, I guess, is Kyle Shanahan's comfortability to be able to drop back that many times with Mac Jones, but you can only do that if your offensive line is playing very well. By the way, Trent Williams is back and we're fine.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. The offensive line was really good. The one blip on the radar earlier in the game, it seemed like Dominic Pooney was struggling a little bit. He cleaned that up. Jake Brendel, 4 hurries, 4 pressures, 3 hurries, a quarterback hit, easily the most on the offensive line, and that includes Connor Colby, who came into the game.
Yeah, Brendel, I have the numbers in front of me here, Jason. Brendel had 4 pressures allowed. Pooney had 1. McKivitz had the erroneous pressure allowed.
The phantom pressure.
But those are the only 6 pressures the 49ers allowed yesterday. John V, thank you very much. Happy Victory Monday, fellows. The O-line played well. We got to clean up the missed tackles and penalties. Yeah, the penalties wasn't – it's funny because the penalties weren't an issue in the first half. They had 0 penalties in the first half. And then the second half, I believe they got called for 5, multiple against rookies. And they were 3rd down, so that's not a good thing. But, hey, they win the game. But, yeah, Jason, I think hand-in-hand, Mac Jones with the offensive line worked really well. Don't know if it's going to work that way every week, but seeing it 1 for 1, 100% makes you feel really good about Mac Jones as the starter for the next foreseeable future, however long it may be, whether yesterday was the only start or whether we don't see Brock Purdy until Jacksonville or Los Angeles, whatever it may be. You got to feel very comfortable with where Mac Jones is early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Juwan Jennings is rounding back into shape. And listen, I don't want to alarm anybody, but Ricky Pearsall has 8 catches, and all 8 of them have gone for first downs. I don't want to alarm anybody. I don't want to have any sirens go off. But, yes, again, given the way this offense is schemed, open guys, and, he's taking what's there, the only thing that you're really lacking with Mac and Purdy is a few things. I think, the arm strength thing is obviously something that's up in the air. I'd probably give the nod to Purdy, but Purdy's mobility, right? Like, that's the one thing that you'd like to see. But what's funny is last season, Purdy's mobility was a good and bad thing because he sometimes bailed from clean pockets and had throws that were right there in front of him that he should have taken, that Mac would have taken. But Mac's not going to be able to extend the plays like Purdy will if there is pressure or anything like that. So, you take the good with the bad, but the 49ers have a backup quarterback who could start for multiple teams. Like, we were talking about it, last night. Like, would Mac start over Spencer Rattler in New Orleans? Although, man, through 2 games, Spencer Rattler's been really good. I got to give him credit, man. He has been really good. There's a few places that it could be that Mac starts. So having a starting caliber backup, it's not a bad thing. And the 49ers have done this. With Darnold, they didn't need to see him much. That's great because Purdy wasn't, he didn't miss any games. But I don't see the problem. We're not doing a quarterback controversy here. We're not going to start that nonsense. But it is really good to know that there is somebody that is better than Nick Mullins, C.J. Beathard, other guys that have been behind starting quarterbacks.
Hey, you mentioned his inability to move around like Brock Purdy, and this is my transition to the running game. Mac Jones had the longest run yesterday, 13 yards.
13 yards.
Jason, you're wrong, pal. Watch the game. No, I'm joking. He does not move very well. He had one good run, a nice little what, like Chris Berman would say, that little juke move there. The running game, though, not much to really talk about. Christian McCaffrey, 13 carries for 55 yards. Brian Robinson, 6 carry for 20 yards. But I think he had he had like a 10-yard run that I think got called back on a holding or some penalty by the Niners. So his stat line isn't as pretty. Mac Jones, 6 carries, 6 yards. His longest run is 13. So kind of going to show Jason the running isn't very good for him. And then Ricky Pearsall had that one end around for a loss of 4, which probably should have been a loss of about 9, but Pearsall worked through it. Jason, I probably don't have to talk too long about it, but thoughts on the run game, not much there.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, they limited him a little bit. I think in terms of the touches, it was good to see Brian Robinson in there. It felt like at times the running game was getting itself in motion and they were getting it going and getting a little hot. Look, from 31 touches to 19 for Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
Fine. Yeah, fine. Let's start capping that. And again, remember, week 1 felt like that was an extension of the fact that Kittle and Jennings left that game and they were going to be heavily involved in the game plan. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey is still the engine, right? Like he's still the guy that draws the attention. We talked about it when we showed the play diagram. The Christian McCaffrey route that was run. By the way, I don't want to get too excited. 11 snaps in the slot for Christian McCaffrey. Are we about to start using him as a wide receiver and try to limit all those hits that he can take and make him more efficient? But the attention that he drew on that route, it allowed Juwan Jennings to get into space and Mac Jones hit some 43-yard touchdown. That sort of gravity is something that can't be quantified with any box score stat. So yeah, I'm fine. Brian Robinson will get it together, not a problem. And then when Kyle Juszczyk left with the concussion, they moved right to Luke Farrell taking his spot, and Luke Farrell did good for all intents and purposes. By the way, congrats, Luke Farrell, first NFL touchdown catch from Mac Jones. Pretty cool.
From his former teammate in Jacksonville as well. Jason, you mentioned the Christian. I know this all things aren't equal here, right? Different games are different, but kind of curious at 31 touches last week, only 17 points for the 49ers. Less touches for McCaffrey meant more points this week. Obviously, not all things are equal there, but just something to note, right? And 25% of his snaps coming out of the slot is interesting, right? At least in the pass plays, right? And that's something we talked about earlier this season. So I'm very curious. I'm actually maybe next week, because I kind of want to. I think I'm working on something mentally. I think I'm going to work on it next week. It's kind of what Brian Robinson's touches look like compared to running back 2s in previous years behind Christian McCaffrey. Because it feels like, he's not getting a ton of touches early on, but it feels like he's getting quite a bit of touches comparatively to what we're used to, because McCaffrey was at that 70%, 75% touch rate. It's definitely a little tighter this year. So I'm very curious to see what they do with him on Sunday, and then we'll see what that looks like. But again, like Christian McCaffrey is just very talented. I know the numbers weren't there, but you can see it with his pay. I said it yesterday. You can see a difference between a quality running back like Christian McCaffrey and a quality running back like Brian Robinson. Robinson's a solid running back in his own right, but like there's just levels to what Christian McCaffrey does, just how patient he is, how he finds the hole and how quickly he bursts through it. His numbers aren't going to say it, but I was relatively impressed with Christian McCaffrey. And again, it's going to be a work in progress because of him working back from those injuries.
He finds the hole and what through it?
Words, man. Wordplay, Jason Aponte.
I'm just having fun on a Victory Monday. But
hey,
no, you're absolutely right.
We love it.
And another thing is Brian Robinson's still rounding into shape too in this offense. So we still have to give him time. Look, even if it's 9 rushes for 20 yards, something like that, keeping Christian McCaffrey off the field and still being able to operate the offense is still an upgrade. Now, obviously, you would like for those 9 rushes to be at like 4 clips, so 36 yards at least, something like that. But still, the wear and tear is off, and he's off the field. And again, the key to maximizing Christian McCaffrey isn't overloading him, it's making him more efficient. And I think week 1 was a product of that because of what the circumstances were during the game. And this week, there was a concerted effort of, yes, we're still going to give you the ball and you're going to touch the ball more than anybody, but we can't have you touching the ball 31 times. And we also have to, we got Juwan Jennings back in this game. We feel confident with what Mac can do. I think, again, And we're going to talk about game plans when we get over to the defensive side, because one game plan for Seattle on offense completely different to what it was in New Orleans. And I can say the same exact thing for what happened with the Saints defense against the Saints defense. I mean, for the 49ers against the Saints on defense.
Jason, you mentioned Juwan Jennings. Let's go to the receivers. Jennings leads the way with his 89 yards, 5 receptions, is only behind Christian McCaffrey's 6. He had 10 targets. In terms of the receiving core, I think it's very promising, Jason, that we're 2 weeks in and it's been 2 separate receivers having the big game. Last week it's Ricky Pearsall. This week it's Juwan Jennings. It's only helping once you get the return of Demarcus Robinson, you get the return of Brandon Ayuk, you get the return of George Kittle, because now it's just like it's getting to a point of like, okay, how does Jordan Watkins fit in? How does Jacob Cowing fit in? How do these guys fit in? And it's realistically they don't, because the Niners feel very solid at the receiving core right now through 2 weeks, even though you don't have Ayuk and you don't have George Kittle, because Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall have been able to pick up the slack these last 2 weeks. So I'm feeling very, very good about that. But Jason, what you think about Jennings' game and the receiving core as a whole?
Yeah, he's still clearly not all the way back and right. And that's what makes that touchdown all the more impressive, because all that space that was opened up by the play call, by the throw, by the attention from Christian McCaffrey, and he still went in there untouched, and it looked like he was running with a refrigerator on his back. He's still clearly not all the way back and everything as well, too. For somebody who had a shoulder injury as well, something that you really want to see. So that's great. Obviously, Ricky Pearsall, when you talk about this pecking order that's going to, join up, it's going to be Ayuk, Jennings, Pearsall, Kendrick Bourne, and then that's it. Like Jordan Watkins has such an uphill battle to get on the field when everything is right and when everybody is right. And it feels like Sky Moore might be the 6th receiver just based on special teams prowess. So unless Watkins can return kicks, it's going to be hard to see him in year 1 really do anything. This might be a full-on redshirt season for the young guy. But that's all fine and dandy as long as Robinson, Ayuk, Jennings, Pearsall are all fine, and you get Kittle back. Again, you don't want to stunt development or anything like that. There's just not enough. There's just not enough to go around. So like it's gonna boil down to eventually, and it's gonna be, maybe Watkins can get on the field week 4, and slide past MVS or something like that. But when this room is right with Robinson, Ayuk, Pearsall, Jennings, Bourne, it's going to be hard for Watkins to crack this rotation in any way.
Jason, we talked a little bit about the offensive line at the start. You think Spider Ombre, which I love that.
Spider Ombre.
You think the Niners could go 10-7, go to the NFC Championship? I think that's full. I think the Niners are a team that, even though it's a down year, like they're not a team you want to face, and especially with the defense playing the way. I know the defense wasn't great yesterday, not the best performance, but you see it. You can see it with this defense, especially with the higher end players. I mean, what was the 1,000,000-person tweet Jordan Elliott had last week? The Packers are going to win 15 games, host the NFC Championship game at Lambeau, and lose to the Niners. Like, that feels like in the realm of possibilities, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, 2 weeks of data, we can say that we don't really know. And by the way, love the name Spider Ombre, big Spider-Man fan, as you guys know. I think the 49ers have a better chance at being 10-7, considering where they are from an injury standpoint, to be able to win 2 games on the road in the NFC, by the way, which is a really good tiebreaker scenario. You look at what's going on in Washington, even before Jaden Daniels' injury, they don't look the same. Philadelphia has some things that they need to work through. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. The North is a little weird right now. The Bears are 0-2. The Lions got whipped up on week 1, and then they just throttled the Bears. The Packers are obviously in there, and what's the other team that I'm missing? The Vikings are in shambles right now. I mean, they're down all their linemen, their quarterback's out. Aaron Jones is out. It's Jordan Mason week. The Rams are 2-0, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so 2-0. The Cardinals are 2-0. They're not really looking as impressive. The 49ers are 2-0. The NFC West may end up being that division that we were talking about with the NFC North with 2 playoff teams. With Arizona, I've got to see more, because I don't want to downplay the opponents, because the 49ers did just play the Saints pretty much all the way down to the last second. But I am going to look at what the Saints did defensively in week 1. and I can't believe it's going to be like 2 straight weeks of me watching the Saints, but what they did to keep Kyler Murray in the pocket and how Brandon Staley was able to deploy that, you could bet that Robert Saleh is going to look at that and find a way to lift some of that stuff.
Jason, we talked about the offensive line at the top a little bit. You want to give any real thoughts as we dive in a little deeper to it before we move to the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, damn what PFF says. Clean sheet for Trent Williams and clean sheet for Colton McKivitz. Couldn't ask for anything more from your two tackles at this point. Jake Brendel seemed like the one that he was really struggling. It was good to see Pooney bounce back a little bit, but offensive line-wise, very good. Again, ball out on time for the most part. Guys were getting open, and you know what? The protection held up. You love to see it. Colton McKivitz gets that bag. Clean sheet. I don't care what PFF says. That's not his sack. That's not his pressure. You can fight with me all day about that. You guys need to learn ball and understand that Mac Jones had to get that ball out. But we're good with the Trent Williams worry button. We can take our finger off of it. I mean, the guy was basically a game time decision. Said that he didn't know if he was going to play. Said he got to the stadium, felt juiced, clean sheet, 90 pass blocking grade. That's Trent Williams, and it's good to see him back.
The Trent Williams demise was week 1 of 2025 through week 1 of 2025. It was long lasting, but not going to miss it, Jason. We're feeling good. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball, Jason. I feel like there's more to uncover on that side of it. Let's start with the defensive line. A lot of good things on the defensive line, and this includes Upton Stout, his ability in the backfield. Michael Williams, very solid game. He has the pressure that leads to one of Nick Bosa's only sack. He had 3 pressures. He had 2 tackles for loss. I want to talk about Bryce Huff, though. Really, not an under-the-radar move necessarily, because he is a name that's familiar. It did happen a little later in the offseason. That's why I kind of say it is under the radar. But he came in with the big play of the game, and I believe he had the highest pass rush grade yesterday. 5 pressures, 4 hurries, 1 sack on 13 true pass sets. If this is what the Niners can get out of him every week, I mean, obviously he's not going to do it every week, but if he can give it to us consistently, you got to feel really good about where this pass rush is. CJ West as well had a pretty solid game. But Jason, what was your reaction to the defensive line grades and what you saw rewatching the game today?
That NASCAR package is humming right now. And I want to, obviously, so let's go through it. When I posted the tweet about true pass sets, it means no play action, no screens.
You tweeted that? I saw it somewhere. Oh, never mind. Sorry, continue. Didn't mean to
no. That's good. No play action, no screens, actual drop back. You have to hold the ball for 2 seconds for it to be considered an actual pass set. Nick Bosa, 15 pass rushes in true pass sets, 5 pressures, 3 hurries, a sack, and a QB hit. 38.5% win percentage, 84.7 pass rushing grade. Bryce Huff, 12 pass rushes, 4 pressures, 3 hurries, and a sack. 27.3 win percentage and a 91.3 grade. But here's the one that I think everybody is overlooking because he hasn't had a sack and his impact on this NASCAR package. Ji'Ayir Brown, 11 true pass rushes, 73.4 grade, 2 pressures and a hurry, 33.3% win percentage. That is the definition of, when we saw in week 1, him clear out the stunt for Nick Bosa. This NASCAR package, when they're getting on the field, Huff, Bosa, Michael, and Ji'Ayir Brown, they are delivering in every single way. And we saw it again this week. We have to talk about Michael. Michael registered 3 pressures, including the one where him and Bosa literally just pushed the pocket and before the sack to get them off the field. This NASCAR package right now is everything the 49ers didn't have last season. And it's unlocked in different ways. Michael's inside, so now you got to put 2 bodies on him. Yeater's winning one-on-one. So is Bosa, so is Huff. This is exactly how you draw it up. This defensive line which is why yesterday I wanted to give them a star, and I was talking about Robert Saleh and the defensive line. It's this, man, and it pops on the film as well, too. The box score is not going to show sack after sack after sack for Ji'Ayir Brown, but those pressure numbers and the way that he's actually winning, that NASCAR package is cooking right now. And shout out to Alfred Collins. He actually had a quarterback hit as well in this game on 11 snaps, if I'm not mistaken. But right now, the defensive line, when we traded for Bryce Huff, we said this was going to be a situational thing. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. But that's exactly you can only get to those positions by stopping the run. Now, obviously, in this game, they didn't stop the run as good as they wanted to, but they still got into these situations. And if you can get into these obvious passing downs, I feel really good about this 4 and rushing the passer and just getting there with 4, although Salah does blitz a lot, also on third down and fourth downs. But still, these four are winning, and they are really, really playing well so far.
And that's the thing that made the Niners defensive line so good a few years ago, right?
Read that one.
Uh and Jay, should we apologize to Kasarik? Yeah. Yeah, we probably should a little
Well,
bit.
Kusurik and Salah,
Yeah.
again,
They go hand in hand. They work very well together. I think you could tell
right.
through these 2 weeks.
Both hands wash each other. Both hands wash the face.
But the thing is going back to the original Salah Kosaric pass rushes, there was obviously Nick Bosa there and D Ford and other names, but what made them so good was kind of the second, third level of names being consistent, right? It was the Kerry Hiders, Eric Armstead's obviously not a second tier name, but
they're here.
Here we go. The Cards fans are here.
They're here.
I'm
so
excited,
happy,
pal. Hey, Champy, genuine question. How do you feel about them trying to lose that game as hard as they did yesterday? I'm just genuine curious. Not shooting shots. I'm just asking a genuine question because I felt like the Cardinals tried to lose that game. But last week it was Sam Okawanu. This week it's Yetur Gross-Matos. Matos has been playing very well these last 2 weeks. But it's the cast members around Nick Bosa, around the higher end guys that are getting it done. And that's what's happened these last 2 weeks is Bosa's only had 2 sacks, which there's no only in 2 sacks in the first 2 games, but it's Bryce Huff, it's Mykel Williams, it's Yetur Gross-Matos, it's Sammy Okwanu making the big plays. And then Bosa kind of closing the game out with big plays himself. So it's not just the upper end of the defensive line that's getting it done. It's also the supporting cast. And that's what I feel like the Niners were really missing last year, because if it wasn't a Nick Bosa big game, Leonard Floyd wasn't doing anything, which, by the way, Parker Romo has no idea who Leonard Floyd is.
And by the way, Leonard Floyd, and the Falcons went crazy yesterday.
Crazy game yesterday for them. But last year you didn't get that cast support for Bosa. And the key here, Okawanu has the forced fumble last week. Fred Warner obviously has the forced fumble this week, but then it's Huff with the big play. It's Gross-Matos making plays. It's Mykel Williams making plays. I like the supporting cast of this pass rush that they didn't seem to have last year.
Yeah, Jordan Elliott even had a good game. Could you imagine being someone who writes for NBC Sports and being able to contribute in New Orleans? Like, it's just incredible. Like, how do you do that? But yeah, look, they have their base package. Jordan Elliott's going to be on the field. I thought Kalia Davis played well, but his PFF grade didn't reflect that 31.0. I don't know how you got to that. I will be completely honest. I haven't watched the full defensive tape. I woke up a little too late today, but this defensive line, the sum of their parts is really good. They still have a chance to get reinforcements with Kevin Givens. And, again, as long as this defense is putting themselves in position to go rush the quarterback with this NASCAR package and the way that they're using Upton Stout and blitzing D Winters, I feel really good about it. Again, this all ties itself back to Robert Saleh and his masterful game plan, which I'm gonna expound upon when we get to these next 2 position groups.
All right, Jason, let's get to the next 2 position groups, and let's go linebacker really quick. I don't really have anything to say other than the 49ers linebackers are fucking back, pal. Like they're back. That's all I got, Jason. You want to add some deep insight?
Fred Warner's fucking amazing. I literally just you know what's funny? I watch and I'm just like, oh, that's Fred. And we're so jaded to his greatness that, other fans, they're just like, dude, how amazing is it to have Fred? And we're like, yeah, that's just Fred being Fred.
Yeah, he's good.
But him and Winters together, man, are we gonna start, the best linebacker duo in the NFL in week 2 already? Like, are we already there again? Look, it went from we hope D Winters can stay on the field and contribute in some way to please, D Winters can't get hurt or leave the field because he's so important. And that's how quickly the development happened. Mm-hmm. So, you look at it, I think it was like 15 combined tackles, 8 defensive stops between them. The only thing that Winters really has to clean up is the missed tackle stuff. We'll get that cleaned up. But my goodness, man, Fred Warner and D Winters, it's making the 49ers, and this is no shot at Dre Greenlaw, it's making the 49ers look very, very smart for letting Greenlaw sign with Denver, who hasn't played a snap because of injury, and we're not celebrating that, to stick with the guy that they drafted the 49ers are a linebacker factory. And it's happened over different regimes with
Hmm.
different coaches and different evaluators. San Francisco is linebacker Valhalla right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand how they keep doing it.
It's Manny Lawson, Patrick Willis, Ahmad Brooks, Navarro Bowman, Chris Borland had a cup of tea, and then it's right into Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, like that. That's a span of 20 years at this point,
Stop
man. Like that's
disrespecting Dan Scuda.
Dan Scuda in there. Apologize, disrespect. I can't disrespect Dan Scuda. Who is the other? Cassius Marsh was another one, right?
That's just Mars. Yep.
Just throw names. Just name Niners linebacker. Takeo Spikes was there
Linebackers.
for a minute. Kale
Tequila
Spikes was there
Spikes.
for a minute.
He was
But
a
yeah,
dog.
no, I just again, I don't really have anything to add on the linebackers because they're just that good. Like I
Well,
don't know what else you could say. 19 combined tackles for Warner and Winters, a tackle for loss, a forced fumble. Winters even had the Greenlaw unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which brings you back. That's how you know the Niners linebackers are thumping, because they're getting those late hit penalties. Jay, do you have any thoughts before we move on to the secondary?
yeah, and I do, and it's like intertwined. So early on in this game, Ji'Ayir Brown's on the field, and you're
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh my God, is Upton Stout injured?" Because Stout's on the field early to start, and then Jair's in there, and it looked like they have this role for him as a hybrid linebacker, close to the line, big nickel, and it felt like they were trying to improve the run defense. So in week one, it was Luke Gifford who was on the field in base, right? And it was them as three linebackers. In this game, Saleh was playing around with the idea. First of all, only two linebackers played, Fred Warner and D. Winters, by the way. Ji'Ayir Brown only played 9 snaps, but he played 9 snaps basically lined up right next to them. And the idea may be to get him to play to the skill set that is never going to erode, which is get downhill, trigger fast, and not worry about anything in coverage and on the back end, right? Like it feels like in coverage when he's back there, he's thinking too much. Now you're taking the thinking away and you're saying, listen, we've got you this close to the line. Read it, run, get downhill. I don't know if this is going to continue, but it definitely feels like something that they wanted to implement this week against the Saints. Whether it goes on, I don't know. Whether it was game plan specific to something that they saw on tape with the Saints, I don't know. But Ji'Ayir Brown ended up with a 93.5 defensive grade, almost an interception. And while we're lamenting the Fred Warner forced fumble, he flew to Alvin Kamara and was there and was wrapping him up to keep him up before Fred Warner knocked him down. Look, we're a pro Ji'Ayir Brown podcast, clearly, but it was nice to see him, contribute in a way. And I think it just speaks to Robert Saleh understanding the skill sets of his players and putting them in spots to play well. And I think that's another thing that's got to have you excited, because when somebody is just getting beat and beat and beat and you're just throwing them back out there like, hey, keep going in the coverage, you're not putting them in a spot to win. So, like, if you're the one skill set that Ji'Ayir Brown has that will not erode, will not change, is the trigger fast, get downhill, and go pop on the ball. That's what they were trying to tap into. Maybe you start to see the ball go through the hoop a little bit more confidence for Ji'Ayir Brown. You start to get more exotic, and you can start to really throw things at different offenses. I enjoyed it.
Well, and even if it was just a Saints specific game,
He won't be
plan,
covering Brown. Brown won't be in coverage on Trey McBride. That's not why they had him, Gojira. They had him for run defense, and they just happen to throw the ball on those base downs. They are not gonna put Ji'Ayir Brown on him. That would be an insane mismatch.
It might have been something Saints specific, but it went so well with Ji'Ayir Brown yesterday. You almost have to try it again just to see what you have. And
Yeah.
And if they can find a role for Ji'Ayir Brown in this defense, because like he's had his issues, if Saleh can find a role for him in this defense, I think that would be one of Saleh's greatest accomplishments as the 49ers defensive coordinator, because I might have been in the minority, Jason, but I didn't think that Ji'Ayir Brown had a spot on this team. I didn't. I thought maybe a surprise 53-man roster move. I thought a trade was likely. I didn't think they would ever cut him. But he went from kind of just this forgotten safety to now all of a sudden, like maybe he has a role. So if Saleh can find a role for Ji'Ayir Brown where he consistently produces, that would be Saleh's greatest accomplishment for this defense in any of the points of him being the Niners defensive coordinator.
Yeah, big nickel, hybrid linebacker, just somebody who can trigger fast. And again, when you're talking about when you're talking about how the 49ers have constructed this defense, it's the big boys up front in the wide nine. They hold the blocks, and those little crevices, you have your linebackers at the second level who are smaller, faster, who can slide into those
Mhm.
and get into those and do those run fits. Ji'Ayir Brown fits that even if he is a safety member. He's a thumper. He's a kid who needs to just get downhill. I'm excited to see if this continues. And Ariel, shout out to you, man. Mod in the building. All the Saints fans in the stadium. Praise Fred. Yeah, it looked like you guys had a lot of fun. I'm not jealous at all, you know?
Look, there was a lot of Niner fans there, man. I saw it. I
Yeah.
saw it all over the timeline. I saw it all over Instagram. You hear it in the crowd. There was a lot of Niner fans there. Let's move on to the secondary, Jason. The good transition with Ji'Ayir Brown. Some good, some bad. I wholeheartedly disagree with PFF's assessment on Diamador Lenore. Renardo Green, he had a rough start to the game. He really settled down. I really think what the game yesterday showed was the growing pains for the youth in the secondary. Upton Stout, he had the sack, like all credit to him there. He allowed one target for one reception, 14 yards. Marquis Siegel, I mentioned yesterday. I don't think I noticed number 36 doing anything necessarily positive. He did give up that touch on Jawan Johnson. The penalties, I know KP posted on Twitter that the penalty against Stout was very bad, but I guess it's a situation where just don't put yourself in a spot where the ref throws a flag. Then again, that flag should have never been thrown. But then Siegel gets called for another penalty. Kind of the give and take with drafting 5 defensive players with your first 5 picks, especially throwing them into starting roles, Jason. But I liked what I saw from the secondary. Otherwise, haven't seen an interception yet this season, but that's fine as long as I'll live with 207 passing yards against this secondary right now.
Yeah, clearly opposing offenses and quarterbacks are saying, where's Lenore?
Mm-hmm.
Where's Green? We're going to throw a Green. We'll take our chances with Renardo. I believe in Renardo. I think that he had, early on in the game, it could have been much worse if Chris Olave comes down because Chris Olave, you didn't have to do my mans like that. You didn't have to put him on the ground like that. Like that was filthy. But if that ball's a tick in the right spot, that's a touchdown. It's an even worse day. 70 yards could have been way worse, but still stuck with it. I think he has the mindset. They'll figure that out. But again, it's just I don't want anybody to say that Renardo Green is regressing when if you're talking about who you're going to throw at, you would be a fool to throw at Diamador Lenore at this point. And I don't understand that grade because I never heard his name. The only time I've heard Diamador Lenore's name was when he committed that penalty in Seattle. That's it. Like, no one's throwing the football at him. No one's trying him. No one wants to try him. So, Renardo Green's going to have to do that. With Stout, it's clear what's happening is, this is the K'Wan Williams role. We want you at nickel. We want to blitz you here and there. But you can't get him caught in coverage because he is smaller. He doesn't have the wingspan to get up and go get the ball. You don't want those things. Again, that's the chess match, and you've got to figure out a way to mitigate that. Far more concerned about Siegel and Pinnock in this one, man. I think they combined to give up like 80 yards, and all of their targets were completed. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, when Siegel was targeted, he gave up a perfect 158.3 NFL quarterback rating, if I'm not mistaken. Could look that up because I did do the article
Siegel,
today.
158.3,
158.3
yards.
158.3
Which is
for
for
those
still
at
for
home.
some reason a perfect passer rating in the NFL. Just a real nice even number to land on there.
Right. For those at home that are keeping score, when you finish a game with a 158.3 passer rating as a passer, it is a perfect day as a passer. So, yeah, look, again, Siegel's still a rookie. You got to figure that out. Pinnock is somebody that they really enjoy. He's not going anywhere. But they really have this not overwhelming, but they have a bunch of talent at safety now. Especially if you could find a way to get Ji'Ayir Brown involved. What happens when Malik Mustafa comes back? Who comes off the field? This is a good problem to have. But the Renardo Green thing, this is back-to-back weeks that teams have come out and they said, hey, listen, we're going to go at you until we figure that we can't. So he's got to stay within himself, not lose confidence. I believe in the kid. I think he's fine. But it is clear that teams are attacking him. What's going to happen when Marvin Harrison is locked up on him, when they move him around because he's not traveling with anybody, like what's going to happen in those moments, we're going to see, and Arizona's going to be probably sure to test him again this week.
Yeah, and that Arizona matchup is going to be very interesting to say the least. Champy, Trey McBride, best tight end in football.
Tyler Warren exists, Bucko.
George Kittle's hurt right now too, so
George Kittle's better, but I'm just saying Tyler Warren
it's-
right now is the tight end one. He is Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. Yeah, man, I feel good about the secondary. Listen, there's some things you could take away from it, but overall, I think the Niners defense had a solid game yesterday. There was some things you can complain about, sure, but it's again, this is a entirely new defense, right? This is not entirely new, but most of it is new. 49ers throwback, thank you for the donation. Kyle Shanahan, good company. Congrats to our head coach for the third most wins in franchise history. It's ridiculous. Those who want him gone. Yeah, absolutely agree. 49ers throwback. He's a pretty good coach. He's a pretty dang good coach. He knows how to win football games. Unfortunately, he gets faulted for, not winning one game in February, which typically is against usually pretty good football teams, Jason. So those games are hard to win anyways. But we
One more thing about Kyle
Shanahan.
Shanahan. Shout out throwback. Thank you for the donation. 3 quarterbacks in 49ers history have thrown for 250 plus yards, 3 plus touchdowns, no interceptions in their first start with the team. Matt Cavanaugh in the beautiful year of 1984 in which I was born. Nick Mullins in 2018, Mac Jones yesterday. Funny, one coach coached 2 of them. I wonder what his name is.
I wonder what it is. Getting the most out of the backup quarterbacks, unfortunately, is something he's pretty talented at.
Can we talk about something else? Because I feel like we've covered everything very well. Let's push back on the whole, Mac Jones, Brock Purdy thing. Okay. So I have a hard time with this. Okay. Kyle Shanahan's offense is known as a quarterback-friendly offense. Every single quarterback that has been in Kyle Shanahan's offense has enjoyed the best times of their career. Matt Schaub, Brian Hoyer, Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, Brock Purdy. Why all of a sudden are we now saying that all of a sudden because Mac Jones did well in a quarterback-friendly offense with an offense that was tied exactly to his skill set, should we even be broaching the idea of some sort of quarterback controversy? Like, do you listen when you talk sometimes? So a quarterback-friendly offense helps a quarterback play well, and we have to turn and say, oh, why did you pay Brock Purdy? It's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense. And if you could just plug any quarterback into this, then why was Jimmy Garoppolo sent off? Why didn't Nick Mullins stick around? Why is it that every time a 49ers quarterback moves on from a Kyle Shanahan offense, they look like a shell of themselves? This is such backwards thinking, and it's really just inflammatory for the reason of rage baiting.
And again, I think the thing you mentioned it yesterday, Jason, and what really differentiates Brock Purdy and Mac Jones is Purdy's ability to improvise, right? Ability to move around in the pocket. And you saw it yesterday. And that's the reason Mac Jones works in this offense is this off. I mean, you mentioned it yesterday, Jason, so I don't mean to take your point, but
No, it's cool.
Juwan Jennings looked like he was running in quicksand on that touchdown, right? Like he's not moving fast. But nobody's within 20 yards of him because of Kyle Shanahan and what the Niners offense and the reason Jimmy Garoppolo was so successful in this offense was his ability to drop back, look, okay, that guy's not there, look again, oh, that guy's wide open, get the ball to him on time. And Mac Jones can do that. Like Mac Jones can you watch his rookie year. That's what he does. And then all of a sudden you put a defensive coordinator as offensive coordinator, and all of a sudden shit falls apart. And the reason Purdy makes it better, I mean, go look at the game winner last week against Seattle. I know I hated the throw. I still hate that throw. But his ability to survey the field, be like, hey, I got to move. He was able to move around. He even had enough time. Did you see the video of the All-22, Jason, where he looked at McCaffrey and McCaffrey's like, hey, don't throw it to me. I stepped out of bounds. And he was still able to turn around the other way and get the ball to Tongas. Mac Jones cannot do that. Like he physically cannot do that. Jimmy Garoppolo could not do that. And that's why you saw this offense take that second step, that step with Brock Purdy, because Purdy's able to improvise, Purdy's able to move, and he's in that, I'm going to be very careful what I say here. He's in that Aaron Rodgers type area of he's not necessarily mobile. He's not going to be able to run for 50, 60 yards in a game, but he can move. And that is such a subtle difference between Garoppolo, Mac Jones, and Brock Purdy is Purdy's ability to move around in the backfield. And it might stress Shanahan out sometimes because Shanahan very much is a shit's got to be on time. My guy's like, I drew this guy open, hit him. But Purdy's ability to extend the play. I mean, the play I think of too is the one that Ayuk dropped against Seattle in that playoff game in the corner of the end zone. Purdy's ability to improvise and extend plays. And that's what this Niners offense needs. And you saw it yesterday with Mac Jones. As good of a game Mac Jones had, man, it's real easy, though, to take away, that fumble, man. There was a play, I don't know if you saw it on the All-22. There was a play where his feet were firmly in the ground for a solid 4 seconds before he did something. And it's like, on that play, that works. But having a quarterback with an internal clock like Brock Purdy to be like, okay, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, I got to go. Brock Purdy can go. He can move. And again, Jason Aponte probably made a lot of people a lot of money last year simply off of the higher than 12.5 rushing yards Brock Purdy will give you week in and week out. So that like, I understand in a vacuum of, especially with the connection of Kyle Shanahan loves Mac Jones. He loved Mac Jones through that entire draft process. I understand the idea of like, oh, well, why pay Brock Purdy when I understand it within a vacuum based off the performance yesterday. But when Purdy comes back in 3 weeks and he's moving around and he's making things happen with his legs, that's why you cannot say, well, why don't you just start Mac Jones, is because there's going to be a game. The Niners are going to face better. I mean, they have a game. Don't they have a game against the Giants on your birthday, Jason Aponte? Like
around there.
They're going to have a game against really good pass rushers. And if Mac Jones plays in those games, it's going to look much, much different than if Brock Purdy does, because Brock Purdy can actually move around back there.
Well, funny that we're saying all that, and Matt Jones had the longest rush of the game. You know,
yeah,
some are
using
calling
my
him
bit against me. Thanks.
Yeah, got you. So we got Mac Wheels and Mac Vick. Also, we got the Mac Push. I can't wait for they're gonna ban that one by the start of next year, because that is too much. And for anybody that doesn't know, I'm obviously talking about the play where Mac got under center and Jake Tonjes just pushed him from behind to get the first down. But yeah, look, we don't have to wring our hands over this. This is not complicated. It really isn't. And it's just as simple as, how is it that in one breath you can tell me that Kyle Shanahan's offense is QB friendly and see the success that each quarterback has had in this offense and not somewhere else, and then tell me that anyone can do it when, there's certain things that Brock brings to this offense? That's it. Look, man, I know it's not everybody saying this. I just wanted to make sure we pointed this out, because it is something that I suspected was going to happen, because I did suspect that Mac Jones was going to have a very good game. And I thought that immediately it was going to right away come out where, oh, well, you paid Purdy and look at Mac. It's one game. And it's against the Saints. Nick Mullins, well, what's the graphic? Nick Mullins through his first 12 games had as many passing yards as Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes. What are we talking about here? Let's dial it back. Let's settle down. Mac played very well. I expected that. Mac's a very capable quarterback. I still think a starting level quarterback, and he could start a bunch of places as well. But let's settle down. Like, let's just operate under, this is what happened in this game. No grand sweeping statements that go against the grain, and no reason to cause any drama when it comes to any of this. There is no quarterback controversy. This team understands the importance of having a quarterback too, like anyone ever. And here it is. Patrick Mahomes, Andrew Luck, Nick Mullins, 13 starts. That's how many passing yards he had. Like, do I have to say more? And I'm sure that when this was happening, people were saying, you know what? We don't even got to bring Jimmy back, man. Let's just roll with Nick. Yeah, sure.
The whole podcast was based off the first year.
Right. Yeah, sure. And let's see how well that worked out. Yeah, sure. Let's settle in. Let's properly contextualize everything. Let's evaluate everything, fairly. Mac Jones is very capable. I knew he was going to play well. There is no shot in my mind that if Brock Purdy's ready, that I'm sitting there even thinking about starting Mac Jones, because of the things that you said about Brock Purdy and what he offers to this offense. He's lifted this 49ers offense more than anybody has as a San Francisco 49er. That's the best way I could put it. Jimmy Garoppolo maxed out. The Nick Mullins time, obviously everybody was injured and stuff like that. And those felt like empty stats. Those felt like the team was getting blown out almost every single game, and he was able to just, operate and throw the ball. Also, guys are open because of Kyle Shanahan's scheme.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's lifting this offense. Only two quarterbacks have been able to lift it to these heights. Matt Ryan in Atlanta and Matt Schaub in Houston when he was there. So, like, I think we just need to, well, not we, but just let's settle down. Let's just settle down.
So Niners fans are addicted to quarterback controversies. I just think that's what it is, Jason.
Well, it's not football season if we don't have a little quarterback controversy.
No, not at all. Jason, we're reaching an hour. My lunchtime is almost up, so we're gonna have to call it at about this point. Niners 2-0. That's all you should take away. 26-21 victory over the New Orleans Saints yesterday. Up next, the Arizona Cardinals, another division game. The Niners can start their season 2-0 in division after a down year last year. We'll see what the Cardinals look like because they are a team who they've kind of gotten themselves in some situations these first two games. One possession wins against the against the Saints and the Panthers, both teams that aren't particularly good. So we'll see how the Niners line up against them. Niners have had back-to-back one possession games as well. So two teams that have played close games. I feel like if you're the Cardinals fan, it's a little different. It's a little different. Yeah, we don't need to talk about it, man. They're so bad, man. They're so bad. They're gonna get relegated. It's okay, man. I'm at peace. Maybe they'll win a Premier League game by Christmas. Who knows? 0-4 for the first time since like 1927. Whatever, man. Wolves fucking suck, man. But Niners Cardinals, man. The Cardinals have found themselves in an interesting situations the last 2 weeks. As I said yesterday, they tried really, really hard to lose to the Carolina Panthers. Didn't quite get the job done. They get the victory. So we'll see. It's a divisional game, and we'll see what Kyler looks like because that's kind of the big what if. That'll be a name you see a lot this week, and it's Robert Saleh's first game against a mobile quarterback since returning. So we'll see what that looks like. So, Jason, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
94 throwbacks on Sunday. Look good, play good, guys. Go out there and whip some ass. But yeah, no, look, this week's just gonna be basically about, I think we're kind of close to closing the book on the Saints and everything. And this is a critical matchup. They're 2-0. This is the second divisional game for the 49ers. Obviously, if you want tiebreakers, this is a big one. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun week, man.
We'll be back on Friday, either lunchtime or 5 o'clock. Depends. We'll let you guys know as we get.
Well, there's no football, so we can do regular.
We could do regular. I don't have softball until 9:30 that day, so we could do regular. Nice. We'll be back. Hey, 2 football games tonight, Jason Aponte. Who you got winning both games tonight?
Give me Harbaugh against the Raiders, even though it's Pete Carroll's birthday, and give me the Tampa Bay Bucks over the Houston Texans.
I think that's where I'm at. Although I think the Raiders might surprise some people this year, but that's a conversation. I can't pick Pete Carroll over Jim Harbaugh in good faith.
Here's what I need, and because my 2 leagues are done basically. I got absolutely obliterated. I went up against Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, and Romo Dunze in one league. My game was over by 145. But I need Geno Smith and Scott Fishbowl to really go off. So let's go, Chip Kelly and that offense. Let's go. Let's put up some points.
Jason Aponte, as always.
Shout out to all you guys. Let's go Niners. Victory Monday 2.
Let's go Niners. Bam.